Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. A warm welcome to anyone who's new. This channel is dedicated to the teachings of a very amazing spiritual teacher named Bruno Groening. You can find out more about him in the link below this video or in the chat box. So at the time that I'm making this video, it's Thursday evening, November 23rd, which in this year is Thanksgiving here in the United States. It's a holiday that even if you don't know anything about the United States, it's very interesting. It's a holiday that has universal appeal, given the importance of gratitude in life. Bruno Groening spoke about gratitude, and I'm going to share a couple of references that I'm aware of. I'm sure he spoke about it many other times and places, but here's a few instances that come to mind when I think about gratitude and the teachings of Bruno Groening. One of them is to be thankful for any helps or healings that one has experienced on this path. Bruno Groening, of course, refused any thanks for any healings occurred, always saying that the healing was from God. And sometimes Bruno would get a little technical about what that meant, saying that things such as God would give him the energy for him to pass along. He once said something along the effects of, only God knows the correct time when a healing would be most beneficial for someone. And Bruno often would say things along the lines of, I follow God. In essence, that Bruno was obviously a vessel through which God worked, but Bruno wasn't just doing his own thing. He was receiving orders from above and following those orders. So he never wanted thanks. He always said to thank God. But here what he also said is to thank God every day when one has experienced a healing. I have to confess, this is not something I've been regular with. I've gone through periods in which I would literally thank God. I didn't go through a list, but every day I would thank God for all the help I received through Bruno Groening. And I've fallen short of that, and I want to take it up again because, as I've shared many times on this channel, I'm alive because of the power of God that flowed through Bruno Groening, that Bruno Groening helped us to access. So another instance when Bruno spoke about gratitude was actually for our life here on earth. I don't have the exact quote handy, but one time a woman said to Bruno Groening, "Oh, Mr. Groening, I so look forward to going home. Life on this earth is so hard." And by going home, she meant, being in heaven with God, not being in a body. And Bruno looked at her a little sternly and said something along the lines of, and yet you, before you were born, pleaded with God the most to have this earthly life. Now I'm paraphrasing here, but he said along more or less what he said is that being here in a body on this earth is a precious opportunity, and you must make the best use of your time here. As he often pointed out, our time here in a body on this earth is limited. And so he urged people to make the best use of their time here on this earth because, and this is a very radical teaching, he said, it's a rare, precious opportunity to be in a body on this earth. He even went so far as to say there were trillions of souls who were lined up waiting for this opportunity, which many of us take for granted, and sometimes that's me as well, and sadly, which many people see being in a body as a curse. When according to Bruno Groening, it's the exact opposite. That's not to say it's not challenging. Absolutely not. We'll get to that in a moment. But that it is a spiritual opportunity. Why? Because according to Bruno Groening, he said, only on this good divine earth has evil been given such free reign. So let's think about that. That's a funny thing to be grateful for. Gee, God, thanks for sending me to this place where evil is so powerful. The thing is, that's the spiritual opportunity for us to face evil and overcome it, and hence make deep spiritual progress. Because if we're not faced with challenge, we're not going to grow. It's a cliche, and yet according to Bruno Groening, it's in essence a true cliche. So to be thankful for the fact that we are in a body on this earth and that we have one more day of life, much less one more moment of life. Now I'm going to read a quote from the Bible which speaks to this. Pardon, while I pull it up. And this is one of my favorite verses in the Bible, and I honestly have to say it's not my strong point. But this is about patience. And this is from the Epistle of James. Epistle just means letter. The first chapter, verse 3. Be assured that the testing of your faith through experience produces endurance, leading to spiritual maturity and inner peace. The next verse says, and let patience have its perfect result and do a thorough work, so that you may be perfect and completely developed in your faith, lacking nothing. Let's say if there's any Bible verse that sums up the teaching of Bruno Groening, it would be that, at least the essence, the big picture of really the meaning of life. Because I'm tempted to say it's natural. It's probably more likely to say it's habitual for us to seek out that which is comfortable. That which is comfortable feels good. But according to Bruno Groening, we are in this body on this earth to face evil and to overcome evil. It's not easy. It's a struggle. It's a challenge. And part of the challenge is I fall short every day, if not every hour, sometimes every minute. And we're going to fall short over and over and over again. And as that old song goes, we need to learn to pick ourselves up and get back in the race, and not just to pick ourselves up and get back in the race, but also to have faith that this is a process. You could say, this is my words, an alchemical process, a very volatile, challenging process that will produce something beautiful. Perfect peace, perfect faith, something which I can't claim. I certainly don't have that. I believe Bruno Groening had that. In fact, he said, I have not let anything pull me away from the divine heavenly peace. And when he spoke about spiritual perfection, he would say things like, that one needs to learn to let go of one's attachments so that one can be at peace no matter what's going on around you. So Bruno Groening's life was very hard. And we only know about the external, how hard it was. Internally, who can even fathom being under constant attack from so many people, spiritually or psychically, and constantly being under temptation from evil? And yet Bruno Groening was somehow able to remain at peace. He did not have an easy life. I don't know that he got much rest here in his time on earth. Once he got active, I am assuming and believe he was just constantly being badgered by evil. And yet he said he was able to stay peaceful under all those circumstances. So that's what we're here to learn. As Bruno poetically said, to fully enter into God. To do that, we have to face these challenges. We have to let go of attachments. And Bruno Groening even once spoke about that if you attained a certain spiritual achievement, but you were in a monastery, that you would have, or in seclusion, you would have to come back and live, he said, amongst ordinary people so that you could learn how to be peaceful while being surrounded by flawed people. So we can't escape and run away into a monastery or into some kind of oasis or retreat. It's okay to do that, but according to Bruno Groening, that's not the full process. The full process is to be able to maintain peace and to maintain faith amidst a whirlwind of chaos and discomfort and even pain. Bruno Groening had quite a bit of pain. So as I'm talking about it, it doesn't sound so fun. And life isn't always fun. As I understand, Bruno's teaching has helped me to understand that life is not designed to be fun 24/7. It's also not designed to be suffering 24/7. But that's another very paradoxical way Bruno Groening spoke about gratitude, of being grateful for the challenges that we face in these bodies on this earth. And here's another really interesting paradoxical way of gratitude. Bruno Groening said that when you see someone doing something wrong, don't get angry at them. He was very adamant that anger is of evil and leads people to evil. He said, be grateful because those people are teaching you what not to do. And once again, a very paradoxical way of looking at and practicing gratitude. When someone does something we don't like, we can get resentful, or can say, I'm really grateful they're doing it. I can see that it's wrong. And from that, I can learn, oh, I don't want to do that. Maybe there's two ways to learn. One way is when we make the mistake, and another way is when someone else makes the mistake. So those are a few of, and I'm sure Bruno spoke about gratitude in other ways and other places. Those are the ones that come to mind. So as I've shared many times, one of my favorite quotes of Bruno Groening is, the state of the world is steered by God. Only things that serve as a lesson are allowed to happen. That means that everything that happens, and I don't like to use the word every, I don't like to use absolutes, but there are some absolutes. And here's one of them, is that if God is absolutely in control of everything, then absolutely everything that happens serves our spiritual growth. That's not to say that one path would be more helpful than another path, but even if we make the worst decision or the seemingly worst thing happens to us, there is benefit there as well. In slang, that's called the silver lining, finding the silver lining of the rain cloud. The idea being, when it's raining, people aren't happy, but that every rain cloud has a silver lining. From a spiritual perspective, every bad thing that happens to us does serve a higher good. This understanding really has deepened my ability to trust God, because let's face it, it's easy to trust God when things are going well, but when things are going very painful or hard or challenge, that's when we really need faith. And then the way to have faith in those circumstances is to say, I don't like this. This is painful. And God, I trust that your hand is here and that ultimately this will serve the good. So I wish everyone a beautiful day. Most of you will not be watching this on Thanksgiving Day, but it's never too late to practice gratitude. It's something I try to do every day, and many days, most days, I end my day with gratitude, and some days I even begin my days with gratitude. So this one teaching of Bruno's, that all of us have been through pain and suffering. Every single person on this planet has experienced pain and suffering. This one teaching of Bruno's, that the pain and suffering serves our evolution and is actually, in the long run, is actually good for us. Opens the door to faith. That I don't stand here as someone with perfect faith by any means. I struggle with faith just like anybody else when very painful things happen. But Bruno Groening said, I have convinced myself of the truth, and I am busy convincing myself further. So we're all on the same page. Once you've accepted something as true, then comes the hard part, which is to live by it, moment by moment. It's one thing to say, for me to sit here in my armchair in my comfortable house. It's a nice 75 degrees inside here. It's cold outside, but in here, my computer's working. I had a nice dinner. It's easy for me to sit back and say, yes, everything that happens serves the good. All things serve the good. It's pretty easy to do it then. But to do it when the really challenging thing is happening, or when one after another challenging things happens, to show up then, that's where as they say, the rubber meets the road, where practice comes in. And just like everyone on this channel, I'm here learning and growing, and I struggle and strive to apply these teachings every day. And so Bruno Groening, I'm personally convinced that the state of the world, as Bruno said, this is a direct quote, I've memorized this one, the state of the world is steered by God. Only things that serve as a lesson are allowed to happen. Said very simply, all things serve the good. I'm convinced. But it's easy to be convinced in the comfort of my home when everything's going just fine. I and all of us need to apply these spiritual truths all throughout the day, especially when things are going bumpy and hard. That's where the rubber meets the road. Speaking of gratitude, thank you so much to everyone who took the time to watch this. I wish you a beautiful, beautiful morning, afternoon, and evening, and have a blessed day. Take care.